All right, so I just wanted to kind of go through why we do days like today. They're not something you guys see all of the time. They're more like the seasoning on the steak rather than the steak itself, right? It's not meant to be the bulk of our training, but it does need to be a part of our training. And here's why. Does everyone remember these things in purple over here I've talked about before, the 10 general physical skills of CrossFit? Basically, there are 10 different fitness domains that someone would need to have in high supply to have a high level of fitness. But we realize these 10 skills don't always all drive at the same speed together at the same time. The way I always use to explain this is imagine like a video game character. If you were like me and you played video games and the goal was to get the character to like 100 out of 100, you try to get every single attribute as high as you can so they're like a super player, like a god in the game. Or if you played like Madden football as a kid, try to make every slider 100 so it was like the most perfect football player ever. The 10 skills are the same way, but in actual practice, these things all come with a compromise with one another. So if I have what's called fringe level strength, think like, see a cord? Think like world-class power lifter. I deadlift 1,200 pounds, I squat 1,000 pounds, I bench press 800 pounds. That individual is probably not a very strong runner. Probably also not a gymnast. Probably also isn't extremely flexible. Now, of course, they're the rare anomalies, but generally speaking, these are these hulking human beings who, ask them a question, they turn like this to answer it, as opposed to being able to like turn their heads and whatnot. It's funny, actually, I read one time a powerlifter said the hardest thing he has to do every day is wipe his own ass. He has to turn to grab the toilet paper to do it, and he just isn't flexible enough to do it anymore. So like, for me, I'm not into that. I don't want to be that strong. I like to be able to, wipe my own ass, So, or, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have marathoners. You see them at the Olympics every year. They're this big. They run really freaking fast. They run like sub 4-minute miles for a very long time. How much do you think those individuals deadlift? They'd be lucky to do their body weight. They get hurt picking up a pencil off the floor, right? But they've traded capacity and balance to be really good at one thing, running very fast in a straight line for a very long time. The fitness we're after here is a compromise of everything. We want as many of these skills as high as possible without really seeing a major drop in any of them, because that major drop in any of them is a weakness. You guys can all think of movements in this gym that are weaknesses relative to your strengths. You might be a strong rower, but a terrible runner. You might be amazing at deadlifts and terrible at handstand push-ups. You might have amazing stamina on the assault bike, but you hate burpees. These are things that happen to all of us. We have things we're good at and things we're okay at and things we're not great at. But if we want a high level of fitness, we want to be greedy and want all of these things to rise as much as we can get them, knowing that true fitness is a compromise between all 10 of these. So when you come in for a day like today, it's intentionally low intensity. That doesn't mean today was easy. Did anyone find today easy? It's just different, right? Heart rate wasn't super high. You didn't have this crazy muscle burn. You probably just had like localized quad pain from getting on the hip extension, and shoulders got a little tired when we were doing a handstand, and abs got a little tired when we were doing the hollow hold. But nothing was screaming at you the same way it does when you're doing like an assault bike sprint and your lungs are on fire. So the low intensity day is necessary for practice. And practice is necessary for skill development. Now, skill development refers to things that are neurological by nature. They have to be done with intentional practice. If we look at these 10 skills, the bottom 4, coordination, balance, accuracy, and agility, are all neurological skills. They're teaching our body how to coordinate the muscle groups, staying balanced over our base of support, put things exactly where we want them so we're in place. Think no different than putting your hands down the mat in the right spot in a handstand, or putting that pad in the right spot that you can kind of get yourself into that proper hinge. Or agility, being able to change between positions readily and easily. These things all are adapted or all improve neurologically, which means I don't really have I can't measure the size of your agility. I can measure the size of your bicep. So I can see organic change or things I can actually measure in these top 4 skills, but I can't necessarily do that in these bottom 4 skills outside of seeing what happens to all of you as you practice something. Everyone feel like they got a little bit better at everything as they went? Not a lot, but a tiny bit better? Even if it's just like, I figured out where I gotta go, and I learned how to keep my spine neutral. That's a skill. Like I told you, the goal of this is to eventually be able to take it onto the open floor, and I say, Catherine, get your back flat in the deadlift. And you're like, I know exactly what that is, because I practiced it over here. That is a neurological skill. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is important, especially when you talk about going into the real world and be able to pick up something heavy and awkward and going, you know what, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that before I lift so I can use my legs. That is the real world application of the training that we have in here. So skill development, primarily neurological. Neurological improvements help us improve our technique, like I just talked about. If you learn how to keep your spine neutral in a hip extension, which is an unloaded environment, and you can do it really well, like you can do 20 of these perfect, I'm not worried about you going over there and trying a 2x body weight deadlift, because I know you know the difference between a good spine position and a bad spine position. And technique matters, as you guys hear us talk about all the time. If you remember me talking on the whiteboard most days, I say, hey, first thing is I want us to be safe. I want us to do a version of training that allows us to get to the finish line, right? I don't care how awesome a fitness program is. If 80% of you die or get hurt doing it, I wouldn't do it. I don't know if you would, but I wouldn't do it. I want you guys to get to the finish line. But that technique keeps us safer and helps improve our efficiency in other things. If I learn to keep my back nice and static via here for my deadlift, I now know how to use my legs to lift the weight and not my back. That allows you to be more efficient, which helps you express more power, which is the holy grail of what we're after here. Power development is simply moving something that weighs something. So it weighs something, it goes a certain distance, and it takes a certain time. The heavier it weighs, the further it travels, and the less time it takes, the more power you possess. So if I can learn to keep my back nice and rigid, and I can pull 500 pounds off the floor, I've expressed an immense amount of power. Now, where did I learn the requisite skill to keep my back flat? Here, or here, which seems silly, but it then transfers to things that have tremendous impact on your body. And if we can work to develop more power, we can get better intensity in our workout. Better intensity in our workout means we're able to get more return from our energy invested in here. So every time we come in here, we're effectively getting a better workout because we can express more power. And that comes with proper technique, proper scaling, and just a proper progression. You know, basically doing the version of the workout that's appropriate for you now. As a lot of you quickly realized, you wanted to do the up and down thing, and you're like, nope, holding is plenty hard enough. That is you picking the right version of the workout. Everyone today, from what I saw, did the right version. Now, what do we hope to see in the future? Well, we gradually progress to getting able to go down and up some, and then a little bigger down and up, and then a little bigger down and up, and then when we can go full range of motion, then we can worry about adding more reps or more time to it. And the whole reason you should care, why everyone comes here for, is results. If we don't do things that require us to learn how to connect our brain to our muscles, we're gonna blunt the effectiveness of the program. We're not gonna be able to express maximal power, which means we don't get optimal intensity, which means we aren't safe, efficacious, and getting ourselves to the finish line. And worse, and probably the most important thing that most of you care about, the take-home message is, you won't get the results you're after. So you guys all did this beautifully, but this is how the approach to every single class needs to be. Some classes will not be neurological by nature. Today's a unique kind of class, but the same goes for when we're doing yesterday's workout. Same idea, right? What allows me to get the best possible intensity? Some days it's trying really hard, or sometimes it's scaling, or sometimes it's going to the RX. It depends on the day, but you guys asking questions is how we make sure that we kind of check off all of these skills and not forget that even though this may seem like a throwaway day, like I could just do this in my front yard with a stick and a ball or something, coming here and doing it amongst other people is how you get feedback, how you get coaching, and how you turn some of these neurological skills into the ability to express more power, which gets you results. That all jive? Any questions? Anything not understood? Because I'm all well and good. I'll talk all day, every day, but I want to make sure like the message is getting in, right? If it's not, I got to fix my approach. It's not that you guys don't understand it. It's I got to fix my delivery. So everyone's tracking? Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming in. You guys don't need to do anything upon leaving. Looks pretty clean in here. I don't see sweat everywhere. I don't see chalk everywhere. So you're good to go. I'm not going anywhere. If you want to hang out for the next couple hours, I'm going to be here. So Thanks for hanging, everybody. Good job. Thank you, sir.